Chapter 1231, Water Path Quasi-Grandmaster. Chapter 1231, Water Path Quasi-Grandmaster. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Southern Border, Super Gu Formation. Ba Quan Fong looked in Wu Clan's direction, wondering discontentedly, what is going on? This Wu Yi Hai is so patient, he is cultivating in seclusion and not going outside. He found it hard to believe. Wu Clan's members usually acted overbearingly. Once in a while, they would find trouble with others. Wu Yi Hai was Wu Yong's half-brother. He had very high status in Wu Clan. But he actually chose to cultivate in seclusion and normally did not interact with Gu immortals. Ba De shook his head. He said solemnly, now it seems, this Wu Yi Hai is not simple at all. Or rather, he is even harder to deal with than the rank 7 Wu Clan Gu immortal earlier. Ba Quan Fong laughed, how can that be? He is merely a lone cultivator from Eastern Sea. Old Treeman Ba De looked at Ba Quan Fong. If he is only an ordinary lone cultivator, how can he manage this immortal opportunity business so outstandingly? Even if we place pressure on the business, we cannot do anything to Wu Yi Hai. These last days, we have prepared many ways, but this person completely ignored us. Facing our taunts, he chose to stay silent and endure it. Such a person is far more dangerous than other Wu Clan Gu immortals. Ba Quan Feng's expression changed. He breathed in deeply. Lord Old Treeman, even you give him high praise. It seems this person is really outstanding. Why don't we go and ruin this immortal opportunity business, to force him to act? Ba De shook his head. Impossible, he will definitely not do anything. If we expose this matter, the immortal opportunity business will certainly fall apart since it is not allowed in the first place. But we will not be able to harm Wu Yi Hai, and we will even offend the 6 other clans with them. All of their animosity will be drawn towards us. By then, Wu Yi Hai would benefit from it and unite them to form an even tighter political force. Ba Quan Fong stared with wide-opened eyes, bellowing, then what do we do? Wait. Wait. Wait for an opportunity. Old Treeman Ba De said, the opportunity that we can create right now is small and insignificant. In that case, we wait for a better opportunity in the future. Ba Quan Fong gritted his teeth, then wouldn't Wu Clan be above us? How long would we need to wait? We might have to wait for a very long time. Old Treeman Ba De's expression turned cold. He no longer spoke, only looking at Ba Quan Fong silently. Ba Quan Fong felt an immense pressure from his gaze. He took 3 steps back, lowering his head as sweat appeared on his forehead. Lord, I. You are too rash, little Fong. These last days, your mental state is not right. Ba De said slowly. Yes, Lord, I was wrong. Ba Quan Fong obediently admitted his mistake in an earnest manner. Wu Clan indeed lost a rank 8 Gu immortal, but they are still a huge force. The other clans are observing Wu Clan, but nobody wants to strike first, because we have not uncovered Wu Clan's true foundation yet. If Ba Clan is the first to jump out and is met with Wu Clan's iron fist, we would suffer a loss, while the other clans would benefit. Do you understand? Yes, I will remember Lord's words. You will stay in seclusion. If Wu Yi Hai does not come out, you will also stay inside. Ba De said expressionlessly. Yes, Lord. Ba Quan Fong had a bitter expression as he acknowledged this, before taking his leave. Fong Yuan was still inside a dream realm. The Gu immortals outside all thought he was undergoing closed cultivation. Most Gu immortals thought that this was Wu Yi Hai's trait as an Eastern Sea lone cultivator. He had not adjusted his mindset. After all, lone immortals and secluded immortals love to enter secluded cultivation. A small portion, including Ba De, thought that Fong Yuan was purposely doing this to deal with their political methods. But nobody thought that Fong Yuan was secretly exploring the dream realm. Inside the dream realm, it was now a crucial moment. Young Master Long had already gained a huge advantage in battle. He laughed at Fong Yuan. You no longer stand a chance, you cannot win. If you surrender now, you can still save some face. Fong Yuan was covered in injuries. He was breathing roughly as he gritted his teeth, not speaking. This was the seventh scene of the Dream Realm. Fang Yuan's cultivation level was also at rank 5. But young Master Long was even stronger than him, at rank 5 peak stage. Not only that, young Master Long had many useful Gu worms, and with his Dragonman constitution, be it the defense of his dragon scales, or the regenerative properties of his dragon blood, they were on par with rank 5 Gu worms. His advantage was too huge. Be it cultivation level, Gu worms, or his own human body, Fang Yuan was suppressed heavily by young Master Long. It was already a huge surprise to the spectators in the Dream Realm that the fight lasted this long. In their opinion, even though Fang Yuan's spirit was commendable, this battle's result was already decided. Now, you have less than 5% of your primeval essence, let's see how you block my attack. Young Master Long shouted as he pounced at Fang Yuan. Even though Fang Yuan was in a bad state, his gaze was very clear, as he counted down in his head. After several failed explorations, he had already learned that he did not need to defeat young Master Long in this battle, he needed to stall for time, he needed sufficient time. Once time was up, a chance would occur. 7 breaths of time left. This time, I should give it a try, immortal killer move, unravel dream. Fang Yuan called out in his mind. Ping! Young Master Long, who was approaching imposingly and arrogantly as he took large steps towards Fang Yuan, suddenly fell face down on the ground, after tripping over a rock. The entire arena turned silent. All of the female Gu masters who were cheering for young Master Long since the start of the battle went quiet. How could I make such a mistake? Young Master Long had a jade-like appearance, but his face was flushing red as he turned angry from shame. He quickly got up, shouting as he charged at Fang Yuan again. Fang Yuan could only barely stand now, his injuries were too severe. He was simply waiting for his defeat, the entire place started cheering for young Master Long again. Go, young Master Long. Defeat this overconfident challenger. Ah, I will remember this scene in my heart. Young Master Long is so charming, if only I could stand beside him, that would be great. If he could talk to me, I would be satisfied in this life. The male Gu masters were roaring, the female Gu masters were calling out while cupping their hands or holding their faces. Immortal killer move, unravel dream. Fang Yuan could only use this again, because he could no longer put up a fight in this battle. Whoosh! A soft sound echoed. Young Master Long's movement paused. He was taking large steps, and was ready to win the battle, but now, an unexpected accident occurred again. Maybe because he took steps that were too large, or maybe his clothes were torn in the fight earlier, but now, his pants entirely ripped. Wind blew, young Master Long felt a chill in his crotch. The entire place went silent. Even Fang Yuan was surprised, thinking, the effect of Unravel Dream currently is really quite peculiar. Ah! Suddenly, female Gu masters screamed. The place went into a clamor. What is happening? Ha ha ha. Young Master Long's pants ripped. So young Master Long does not wear underwear. The male Gu masters were watching with interest while the female Gu masters were covering their faces, using the gaps between their fingers to continue watching secretly. But the view was quite disappointing. So young Master Long's. Is this small? Young Master Long. His body was shaking intensely, his face was completely red, veins were popping on his forehead, his expression was extremely scary and malicious. Ah! I will kill you. The shame in his heart was driving young Master Long crazy, he pounced at Fang Yuan ferociously. However, Fang Yuan smiled like a winner. At the next moment, 7 breaths of time had passed. Plop! With a soft sound, young Master Long's entire body self-detonated. His dragon blood splattered on Fang Yuan's face. The entire place went into a commotion. Young Master Long. Why did this happen? Several female Gu masters fainted on the spot. Did young Master Long kill himself due to the shame and embarrassment? It must be him. A Gu master pointed at Fang Yuan. He must have used some evil method to kill young Master Long. He is a blood path demon. Boom boom boom. At the next moment, the spectating dragon men all self-detonated one after another. At once, blood splattered all over the place. The surviving Gu masters were in chaos. Fang Yuan blinked, worried that these people would bring problems to him, but suddenly, the dream realm transformed as a new scene appeared. Puff, this 7th scene is finally over. Fang Yuan let out a breath. He had been stuck at this 7th scene for 3 days. According to the special trait of the dream realm, he had to go through scene by scene, otherwise, he would need to repeat it endlessly. A moment later, Fang Yuan left the dream realm after failing the 8th scene. After regaining his senses, he treated his injuries. The dream realm caused severe damage to the soul. Thankfully, Fang Yuan's soul foundation was outstanding, and with Daoist Gu, these injuries were no problem. More than 10 breaths later, Fang Yuan's soul was as good as before. Next, he inspected his gains. Not bad, my water path attainment level has already reached Quasi-Grandmaster. Fang Yuan's water path attainment level was originally ordinary, it was not even master level. But the main character of this dream realm was a water path cultivator. By the time Fang Yuan got to the 7th scene, his water path attainment level went from ordinary to master. After he passed the 7th scene, it became extremely close to Grandmaster. It seems that the protagonist of this dream realm had very high achievements, they were definitely higher than rank 6. Now that I have water path attainment level, I can annex most of those blessed lands inside City Well, in Eastern Sea. Wonderful, wonderful. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1232, Body Refinement. Chapter 1232, Body Refinement. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. However, the mortal goo for Unraveled Dream were expended greatly. Right now, I can use less than 10 unraveled dreams. Thinking of this, Fang Yuan frowned lightly. This was a problem. Unraveled Dream was very effective, but the expenditure of Dream Path Mortal Goo was huge. And because these Dream Path Mortal Goo were all refined by Fang Yuan solely, he could not raise their production. Give these Dream Path Goo recipes to Xianxia sect and get the hairy man Goo immortals to refine Goo for him. Fang Yuan did not even consider this. At this time period, the value of these Dream Path Mortal Goo was higher than Immortal Goo. Of course, Fang Yuan believed that Xianxia land spirit could afford to pay this, but there was no absolute secret in this world. If it was exposed, the impact would be too big. Fang Yuan was at the peak of the 5 regions in terms of dream realm exploration. If these Dream Path Mortal Goo recipes were known to others, his advantage would be gone. This was what Fang Yuan did not want to see. Thus, he would rather refine them himself. Even though the production was lower, he had to keep it strictly to himself. As long as he did not expose it, who would know? I cannot get others to help, but I can make use of things like spring dream fruit trees to raise the efficiency of my Dream Path Mortal Goo refinement. Fang Yuan thought of the spring dream fruit tree again. Spring dream fruit trees were a very special type of plant. It existed in dreams and did not have solid form. But it needed a real living tree as its foundation to survive. Fang Yuan knew of one spring dream fruit tree. It was at the base of a nameless mountain in central continent. This volcano erupted every several hundred years. The large amounts of volcanic ash created fertile soil in the surroundings. Thus, many people lived there. Fang Yuan had once harvested the fruits of this spring dream fruit tree. They helped him greatly. But Fang Yuan could not transplant this spring dream fruit tree. The spring dream fruit tree at the base of the volcano was residing with a 1,000-year fire date tree. If Fang Yuan moved it, the spring dream fruit tree would be destroyed. And central continent was a lion's den to Fang Yuan now. He could not go there. Familiar face could allow him to disguise himself. but he could not avoid Wisdom Path Gu Immortal's deductions. Dark Limit Immortal Gu could help him, but it was only rank 6, that was not enough. Fang Yuan could not solve this problem currently, it was out of his abilities. And he also could not find a second spring dream fruit tree, he had no such methods, he could only give up. After resting for a while, Fang Yuan did not rush into the dream realm. He needed to deduce the 8th scene. He was a Wisdom Path Grandmaster, deducing things in advance could help him to explore the dream realm. This was his advantage, he obviously made use of it. In terms of Wisdom Path, he did not lack attainment level, but Immortal Gu instead. Unravel Mystery was his only Wisdom Path Immortal Gu, it was alone without any accompanying Wisdom Path killer moves, thus, Unravel Mystery had little use. Right now, Fang Yuan was barely making use of it. In terms of Wisdom Path, he was not focusing on developing it currently, so Fang Yuan was keeping things in this state. Deductions were not just for Dream Realm, but also Fang Yuan's current environment and situation. If I guessed correctly, Ba Clan is my biggest enemy. Earlier, they looked for many ways to find trouble with me but I solved it all, now it seems that they want to observe on the sidelines. Ba Clan's passive state was making Fang Yuan feel wary. If they did not do anything, Fang Yuan would not know what they were thinking, preparing, or scheming. If they took action, Fang Yuan could sense their plan and deal with it, resolving whatever problems they sent to him. All in all, the situation is quite good, Wu Yihai's identity is really useful now. The weakness of the immortal opportunity business was no longer an issue after my arrangement, it became a scheme displayed right in front of me. Maybe I can trap some stupid Gu immortals. After all, Wisdom Path Gu immortals were few in numbers. Even if there were Wisdom Path Gu immortals, they might not be righteous, if they did not know the rules of the righteous path, it was impossible. As for Wu En or Wu Liao, they were doing their work properly, Fang Yuan did not have to bother with them. Wu Liao had come to report some matters to Fang Yuan earlier, but Fang Yuan was determined to leave the work to them, he said that he was not to be bothered unless there were major matters. Wu Liao was extremely disappointed, thinking that Fang Yuan was the same as the previous rank 7, his attitude towards Fang Yuan turned cold. Fang Yuan sensed this easily but ignored it. This giant dream realm was expanding slowly at all times. When Fang Yuan secretly explored it, the dream realm would shrink, but to the entire dream realm, it was just a small portion, it only would slow down the speed of the dream realm's expansion. He could easily conceal it. Those demonic path and lone immortals who explored the dream realm through the immortal opportunity business were Fang Yuan's greatest concealment. These people usually met with difficulties in the dream realm, but there were one or two of them who could bring out dream path materials even though they failed the exploration. These dream path materials could naturally refine dream path Gu worms. These Gu immortals treated them like treasure, even though only a small number had gains, the remaining Gu immortals were extremely excited. The righteous path clans were also secretly purchasing the Gu materials from these Gu immortals. Wu clan was no exception. However, the Gu immortals who gained Dream Path Gu materials rarely chose to sell them, they kept them as valuables. Wu clan only purchased around 10 Gu materials, Fang Yuan did not dare to touch these materials, Wu clan was keeping a close eye on them. After resting for a while, Fang Yuan went into the dream realm. It was not the giant dream realm, but his own dream. To get Dream Path Gu materials, one's own dream realm was the best and safest option. Unfortunately, these Gu immortals did not know that. Southern Border, by Xiang Grotto Heaven. At the center of a huge Gu formation, Bai Ningbing sat down with difficulty. Bai Xiang Heavenly Spirit was in the air, manipulating the Gu formation. The Gu formation operated silently, multicolored lights were flickering from time to time, gathering in a stream, or splitting up like flowers, flying around aimlessly. Bai Ningbing had a pale expression, but his aura was much more stable than before. This was because the Gu formation was enduring a portion of the pressure for him. He used his body to contain the raging wave rising dragon fire. It was truly too reckless, his life was on the line. Next is the most important step, we will target the raging wave rising dragon fire in your body. Bai Xiang Heavenly Spirit had a solemn expression, young master, you need to persevere and be completely focused, you need to coordinate with the Gu formation and suppress the raging wave rising dragon fire. The entire process will take 49 days. During that period, you will not get any rest. If I do not say stop, it would not have ended yet. Even at the final moment, if you lose concentration, you will die for sure. Bai Ningbing's eyes were seeing stars, he felt dizzy, almost unable to sit properly. In this situation, not to mention 49 days, he would not even last half a day. In this critical junction, his lips curled up, he was smiling. He, this is so fun. According to my current condition, this is an impossible task. This can test the true limits of my body. Even if I die like this, it is very interesting. His body was tired, but he was very energetic in his mind. Breathing in deeply, Bai Ningbing called out to Bai Xiang Heavenly Spirit, why are you waiting, aren't you going to start? Bai Xiang Heavenly Spirit smiled as he thought, I had waited so long for this young master to arrive, he seems to be quite capable, he has no fear towards death. Thinking so, Bai Xiang Heavenly Spirit activated the Gu formation. Boom! At the next moment, brilliant lights burst out of the Gu formation, spreading over the entire place. Ah! Bai Ningbing screamed as he raised his head. A huge flame burst out of his eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. Raging flames spread over his body, turning Bai Ningbing into a human-shaped fire pillar. Pain, pain, pain. Bai Ningbing was someone who would not frown even if he was heavily injured, but now, he had no such composure, he screamed loudly in pain. Simply because the pain was too intense, he had to do this to vent the anguish. Bai Ningbing was originally expecting the pain of a burning fire. But in fact, it was not like this. While screaming, he realized something, this humans-alike dragon's Gu refinement method not only targeted the raging wave rising dragon fire but Bai Ningbing himself. Be it his body or soul, or the Tao marks in his body, they were all melted and separated under the humans-alike dragon's Gu refinement method. This was the same as processing Bai Ningbing as an immortal material, the pain was simply too immense to describe. Hang on, hang on. Bai Xiang Heavenly Spirit screamed anxiously. Bai Ningbing's eyes already had turned over to show the whites, the intense pain sent him into despair, he was in a state of being close to unconsciousness. If he fainted, at that very moment, he would be burnt to a crisp by the raging dragon fire. Northern Plains, Snowy Mountain First Peak. Ma Hongyun was also screaming. Ah! The veins on his neck were popping. Intense lightning danced in his body, Ma Hongyun's body was shaking intensely, he seemed to be spasming or dancing frantically. After a moment, the lightning faded, as Ma Hongyun breathed roughly with sweat pouring out of his pores, he did not have any strength left. Failed again. Lady Wan Shou frowned, feeling slightly angry. Ma Hongyun had already been lightning refined countless times, even though he suffered each time, he did not lack any limbs, he was still intact. Furthermore, his cultivation level had risen to rank 5 peak stage. This made Lady Wan Shou speechless. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know in report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1233, Gathering of Central Continent Gu Immortals. Chapter 1233, Gathering of Central Continent Gu Immortals. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Central Continent. In a certain village. Rumble. Intense rumbling was occurring on the mountain. An endless amount of rocks and soil were falling down the mountain grandly like an avalanche. Quickly escape for our lives. I am going to die, I am going to die. Father, where are you? Don't leave me behind. Seeing the disaster unfold, the peaceful village exploded into complete chaos. Countless people were scurrying around in a frenzy, some were lying on the ground in despair, children were crying as mothers held on to them, many had given up resisting. In a situation without anyone noticing, a figure was floating in the sky. It was a rank 7 Gu immortal. He was dressed in a silky blue robe, his long hair extended to his shoulder. He was not brawny, but rather delicate looking. At this moment, he was frowning, muttering as he looked at the mud flow. This mud flow is very strange. Normally speaking, before the mud flow there would be huge rain, but now, the weather was sunny. The truth was, the environment of the surrounding tens of thousands of li had been secretly modified by the rank 7 Gu immortal. He could ensure a proper amount of rain and sun to gain plentiful harvests yearly. Plop! Mountain rocks suddenly burst apart, as a huge brass shell appeared from underneath. The rank 7 Gu immortal with a blue robe floated in the sky, looking at this extremely eye-catching scene. He frowned slightly, before it eased. Oh. So it's a swamp crab. The swamp crab was a desolate beast. Its body was covered in a hard shell, its eyes had vanished due to evolution, it had no weaknesses left. It was the king of the swamp among desolate beasts. The 10 pairs of claws were extraordinarily firm. The first pair of pincers was more fearsome than steel poles, a pair of pincers that could break mountain rocks or cut a flood dragon in half. Its remaining 18 claws, although thinner than the first pair, they were still thicker than 100-year-old trees. The blue-robed rank 7 Gu immortal saw this swamp crab and his eyes shone, feeling pleased. He was a water path Gu immortal. This swamp crab had both earth path and water path Dao marks. Killing it would give this blue-robed rank 7 Gu immortal a lot of usable immortal materials. But the swamp crab is only a desolate beast. If I nurture it well, it might grow into the ancient desolate beast muddy swamp crab, and above that, there is the mud coat swamp crab. The mud coat swamp crab is an immemorial desolate beast. I can stop dreaming about it. My immortal aperture blessed land cannot nurture an immemorial desolate beast, but I can try to get a muddy swamp crab. Thinking of this, the blue-robed rank 7 Gu immortal attacked. He extended his hand out of his wide sleeves. His skin was pale, and his fingers were slim. His 10 fingers moved around elegantly, they were covered in layers of multicolored lights. This was his special method to manipulate Gu worms. Soon, countless Gu worm auras rose in his body. There were mortal Gu and also immortal Gu, different auras weaved together, creating a complex aura that spread everywhere. The swamp crab in the mountain had no eyes, but using its wild beast instinct, it acutely sensed the threat in the air. The swamp crab started to go back inside the mountain. Its huge brass shell had already half sunken into it. But at this moment, the blue-robed rank 7 Gu immortal finished his preparations. His immortal killer move was unleashed. Rumble. Blue waves resembling the tides of the sea appeared out of nowhere, crashing towards the swamp crab. The swamp crab was huge, it could not dodge, it was swept by the waves. But even with the ebb and flow, the swamp crab did not move, its body was too heavy. The blue-robed rank 7 Gu immortal's lips curled with a confident smile of victory, his 10 fingers moved rapidly, only the afterimages of his fingers could be seen. It was a dazzling sight. His immortal killer move was not ordinary. As his red date immortal essence continued to be consumed, the light blue waves turned into dark blue waves. The waves got stronger and were 3 times as powerful as before. A deep spiral was formed in the water under the blue-robed rank 7 Gu immortal's skillful manipulation. The swamp crab was in the middle of the spiral, it could not put up resistance, it was swept by the spiral. Swish swish swish. The swamp crab's heavy body started to move quickly in the spiral, like a piece of seaweed, it could not help itself. The blue-robed rank 7 Gu immortal made a grabbing motion with his hands, as countless shadows of fingers dissipated in the sky, the tides expanded and rose into a torrential tsunami. Boom! With a huge sound, a gigantic tide of water crashed onto the swamp crab's back. The swamp crab's shell was very hard, but with the impact of the tsunami, a huge dent was formed on the smooth shell. The swamp crab did not move, it had fainted on the spot. The blue-robed rank 7 Gu immortal laughed heartily, he spread out the fingers on his right hand, as he raised his index finger. A gush of water shot up from the tides like a geyser, dragging the swamp crab's body towards the blue-robed rank 7 Gu immortal. The Gu immortal opened his immortal aperture's entrance, storing this swamp crab. Immortal. It is an immortal. Thank you, Lord Immortal, you saved our entire village. This immortal even defeated the crab monster in the mountain. Such a grand battle shocked the mortals in the village intensely. Only after the battle was over, they reacted and shouted in joy, kowtowing to him. The blue-robed rank 7 Gu immortal closed his immortal aperture's entrance. He smiled lightly as he looked at the people below. It turned out that while fighting the swamp crab, he had placed a part of his concentration in manipulating the waves to sweep away all of the falling rocks and mud. As expected indeed of the famous water path Gu immortal in central continent, Mu Ling Lan. At this time, a voice came from the clouds. The blue-robed rank 7 Gu immortal moved all 10 fingers as he stored away all of the water that was flooding the place. Next, he flew into the clouds and met with another Gu immortal. This immortal wore a blue robe and had a square face, he had thick eyebrows and a tall nose bridge, he was emanating an aura of righteousness that could not be violated. Mu Ling Lan smiled as he greeted, so Senior Shi Gu has arrived. Shi Gu returned the greeting, I just arrived, to think that I would get to see your method of subduing the swamp crab. Mu Ling Lan waved his hand, saying humbly, my methods are just small tricks from your perspective. But, Senior Shi Gu, I hear you have also gotten orders from Heavenly Court to join this Northern Plains battle. Shi Gu nodded, that's right, Mu Ling Lan, you are also in the list of names, why don't we travel together? Mu Ling Lan had an appreciative expression, it is my honor to travel with Senior. Thus, the two immortals traveled together. The mortals were left behind, looking at the sky as they sighed in amazement. Mu Ling Lan and Shi Gu spoke along the way, they were not silent. Even though both were rank 7, Shi Gu was higher in seniority, having passed 2 grand tribulations, while Mu Ling Lan was still not at the first grand tribulation. Thus, Mu Ling Lan was seeking advice while Shi Gu taught him some things. Along the way, Shi Gu suddenly descended as he floated in the air and waited. Mu Ling Lan did not understand, this was not the gathering point. Shi Gu smiled, pardon me, I have a son called Xianxia, he had recently passed his ascension tribulation and become a Gu immortal. But he lacks experience and is still very childish. I intend to bring him along in this Northern Plains trip to train him. So that's it. Mu Ling Lan realized, looking towards the direction that Shi Gu was gazing at. Under the cloud cover, there was a small city. There were many buildings in the city. In one restaurant, a storyteller was talking about folklore regarding justice and heroism. Good kill. Among the guests, one young lad with thick eyebrows was dressed like a farmer with innocent eyes. Hearing the story of the main character killing the rich and helping the poor, he clapped in happiness. His screaming was loud and caused the curtains to shake slightly. The storyteller was shocked as he paused. The surrounding guests were all unhappily muttering, why are you screaming? Screaming all of a sudden, you'll scare us to death. Why are you screaming? Listen to the story quietly, or we will chase you away, little peasant. The young lad was flushing red, he scratched his head and he looked around in embarrassment, sorry everyone. The guests heard his polite apology and their clamoring became softer, they no longer bothered about it. The young lad sat down slowly but suddenly his expression changed, he stood up as the table and chairs around him were pushed away, causing an even bigger commotion. What now, you lad? Hey lad, are you asking for a beating? The guests were furious, but suddenly, the young man's body shone with light as he shot out of the building like an arrow, tearing a hole in the window as he flew to the sky. The restaurant went into chaos, countless people were shouting in panic. The young lad came before Shi Gu and Mu Ling Lan as he cupped his fists, greeting politely. He was Shi Ji's son, Shi Zheng. 1. The three immortals continued on their journey. A few days later, they arrived at a mountain range. An immortal Gu house was stationed here. It was a pavilion, exquisite and small, there were countless bird cages hanging on it, as birds chirped continuously. This was an immortal Gu house of Heavenly Lotus sect, Canary Pavilion. Shi Gu saw this and nodded slightly. I have long since heard that immortal Gu houses would be sent out to attack Northern Plains. To think that this is Heavenly Lotus Sect's Canary Pavilion. This pavilion specializes in capturing flying beasts, it can move quickly, it is a good choice. Mu Ling Lan added, Heavenly Lotus Sect was created by Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable, it owns the highest number of Immortal Gu houses, it makes sense that Heavenly Lotus Sect could send out an Immortal Gu house. Shi Zhengyi asked in confusion, Heavenly Lotus Sect has Canary Pavilion, Yuyang Palace, and Heavenly Pool, is there a fourth Immortal Gu house? Mu Ling Lan smiled, little e, you might not know, recently, Heavenly Lotus Sect created its fourth Immortal Gu house, but it was kept secret. Shi Zhengyi heard this and thought, Senior Mu Ling Lan is from Spirit Butterfly Valley, this sect is most skilled in information path, it is not strange that he knows some secrets. But Heavenly Lotus Sect has 4 Immortal Gu houses now, it is truly shocking. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1234, Rank 10 Immortal Gu. Chapter 1234, Rank 10 Immortal Gu. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Central Continent, Spirit Affinity House. Immortal Killer Move, Meteor Rain. Zhao Lianyun called out, a bright light bursting out of her body. This light flew out of her body, in the blink of an eye, it entered the sky, vanishing. At the next moment, the pale white space created by a Gu formation seemed to be covered in blue ink, turning deep blue. Swish swish swish. Countless meteors were falling from the sky, raining down like a storm of arrows, it was a majestic sight. The meteors rained down on a hill-like desolate beast tortoise. The tortoise's 4 limbs and head retracted into its shell. Meteors landed on the desolate beast tortoise's back, fragments were created in large numbers, but the remaining meteor rain landed around the desolate beast tortoise, creating huge pits encircling the tortoise. The meteor rain lasted 20 breaths of time until it stopped. Zhao Lianyun was covered in sweat, she was breathing roughly. A voice came from within the Gu formation, not bad, Zhao Lianyun, you are very proficient in meteor rain already. Next, go train your defensive killer move. As this was said, the desolate beast tortoise broke apart and turned into black crows. There were tens of thousands of crows. They were like black arrows, flying around as they shot towards Zhao Lianyun. Zhao Lianyun's eyes shone, she gritted her teeth as she used her defensive Immortal Gu before the crows hit her. Suddenly, her body was covered in a layer of silver light. The layer of thin silvery light successfully protected her from the impact and beaks of the countless crows. Splat splat splat. Zhao Lianyun's tiny little body was soon covered entirely by the black crows. Large numbers of crows were attacking the silver shield, loud crisp sound were resounding endlessly. Zhao Lianyun had a heavy expression. She could feel her immortal essence expending rapidly. I have to think of a plan. Zhao Lianyun had an idea as she started using a defensive killer move. At her first try, she successfully activated the defensive killer move. Immortal Killer Move, Life-Locking Silver Chain. From the silver shield around her body, 6 silvery chains flew out. The chains moved like dragons, they were extraordinary as they flew around in the crow group, stabbing and killing endlessly. Many crows died, soon, in the 10 li of space around Zhao Lianyun, no crows were alive. The silver chains also turned into a round cylinder, protecting Zhao Lianyun, forming a tight defense. Any attacking crow would be ripped to shreds. This immortal killer move is amazing, it can attack and defend at once. It had incredible effect in this first battle, Zhao Lianyun was extremely pleased. The Gu Immortal controlling the Gu formation side internally, this Zhao Lianyun is an otherworldly demon indeed, her cultivation level was raised to rank 5 peak stage using Relic Gu. After being given a Phantom Aperture, Immortal Gu, and Immortal Essence by Heavenly Court, she immediately showed her talent. Her battle talent is not weak at all, after so little practice with her immortal killer moves, she became proficient already. Of course, these immortal killer moves were specially chosen for Zhao Lianyun by Heavenly Court. They were very powerful and easy to control. They also used few Gu worms. The steps for activating them were simple. Alright, next, we will train your healing methods. You will get injured, but don't worry or panic. As long as you perform normally and use your immortal killer move, you will recover. The Gu immortal controlling the Gu formation said. Zhao Lianyun nodded, seeing the crows vanish around her. There was worry in her expression as she asked, I have already trained for half a year in this Gu formation, when can I set off to Northern Plains for the rescue mission? The Gu immortal controlling the Gu formation explained, don't worry, this is a time path Gu formation, a day outside is a year in here. Your time is very tight. Battles between Gu immortals are not just affected by training, there are also many situations that can occur in actual combat. Then give me some actual combat training. Zhao Lianyun shouted. This time path Super Gu formation was placed in Spirit Affinity House. But everything inside was observed by Heavenly Court. Heavenly Court. Fairy Ziwei watched Zhao Lianyun start her combat training as worry appeared on her face. Lord Duke Long, do you really think that such training will allow Zhao Lianyun to adapt to the battlefield? This is too rushed, her battle strength cannot be relied on. Even though he drank half a kilogram of true dragon heavenly water, it only managed to save Duke Long's life, barely. He was still very old and weak. Right now, he was sitting in front of Fairy Ziwei. There was a chessboard between them. This chessboard had a huge origin. It was an immortal Gu house personally created by Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, Star Constellation chessboard. It most excelled in wisdom path deductions. It was the #1 wisdom path immortal Gu house. Fairy Ziwei was not qualified enough, but after Duke Long woke up, he immediately took out this legendary immortal Gu house from Heavenly Court's treasury and gave it to Fairy Ziwei, allowing her deduction capability to reach a terrifying level. Hearing Fairy Ziwei's doubts, Duke Long smiled lightly, we cannot depend on Zhao Lianyun, but I am not depending on her anyway. Fairy Ziwei's gaze shined, Lord Duke Long is counting on Love Gu. That's right. Duke Long nodded, Love Gu is very unique, even among rank 9 immortal Gu, it is extremely special. Most immortal Gu have only one effect, one type of ability. But Love Gu is the opposite, it can unleash all sorts of effects and expend a variety of resources beyond immortal essence. Most importantly, the power of love can resist fate and luck. Resist fate and luck? Fairy Ziwei muttered, slightly shocked. That's right, love can resist fate to an extent. If not for that, how could Red Lotus Demon Venerable damage Fate Immortal Gu back then? Duke Long exposed some shocking secrets. When he mentioned Red Lotus Demon Venerable, he had a solemn tone and complex expression. Fairy Ziwei was slightly shocked, what? Back then, did Red Lotus Demon Venerable obtain the acknowledgement of Love Gu as well? Precisely. Duke Long confirmed this, Red Lotus was not an otherworldly demon, how could he have damaged Fate? It was because Love Immortal Gu was with him, allowing him to damage Fate Immortal Gu in the end. After the Battle of Tian Mountain, Zombie Alliance was wiped out, only a few Shadow Sect members are left, and Spectral Soul is trapped inside the giant Dream Realm. So many Fate escapees have been destroyed, this allowed the repairing of Fate Immortal Gu to be much easier than before. Speaking until this point, Duke Long needed to catch his breath. After resting for a while, he continued, however, even if Fate Immortal Gu is repaired completely, our Heavenly Court cannot regain its former glory. This is because of Giant Sun Immortal Venerable. Fairy Ziwei deduced and got an answer immediately. Duke Long breathed in deeply, yes, because after Giant Sun Immortal Venerable, Luck Path appeared in the 5 regions. In the past, Fate was unchangeable, as long as we repaired Fate, Heavenly Court would return to the apex again. But now, we have Luck Path. Fate is certain while luck is uncertain. Good luck is a positive uncertainty for oneself while bad luck is a negative uncertainty for oneself. Even if we repair Fate Immortal Gu completely, we can only control certainty, we cannot control the uncertainty. Only by controlling Luck Path as well, can we allow Heavenly Court to rule the 5 regions and 2 heavens completely. Thus, Lord Duke Long, you gave an order to gather elite Gu immortals of all 10 great ancient sects to go to Northern Plains, in order to snatch fortune rivaling Heaven Immortal Gu. If we get fortune rivaling Heaven, will Heavenly Court be able to control luck? Fairy Ziwei asked. Duke Long nodded before shaking his head. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's entire life of cultivation had 3 stages: self-luck, all living beings' luck, and heaven and earth luck. Fortune rivaling heaven is the apex of all living beings' luck. Its true effect is to allow the possessor to continuously absorb the luck of all lifeforms around them. Like right now, looking at Ma Hongyun, fortune rivaling heaven Gu's effect is related to the people near him. It continues to absorb their luck, collecting them on Ma Hongyun. That is why Xuehu and Lady Wan Shou continue to fail. Especially in refining a rank 8 Immortal Gu, the chances are simply too low. Fortune rivaling heaven Immortal Gu might be rank 8, but it actually has quasi-rank 9 power. With enough time, and if the affected individuals have enough luck, fortune rivaling heaven Immortal Gu would be able to absorb even more luck and gather it into one person. This is also why Giant Sun Immortal Venerable named it fortune rivaling heaven. The meaning was, by absorbing the luck of all living beings, and gathering it into one person, supreme luck that rivals heaven and earth would be born. So that's it. Hearing Duke Long's detailed explanation, Fairy Ziwei had a realization. Even though Duke Long was from the olden antiquity era, over the process of his hibernation, he had woken up several times, he knew many precious lost secrets. Duke Long continued, if we can obtain fortune rivaling heaven now, we would gain the accumulations in cultivation of half of Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's life. In the future, if we have the chance, we can search for heaven and earth luck and self-luck, to control all of these luck path Immortal Gu, including fortune rivaling heaven. When Fate Gu is repaired, Heavenly Court will reign supreme in the world. If we have a chance to go further and refine the luck path Immortal Gu with Fate Immortal Gu, we might be able to create the legendary rank 10 Immortal Gu, Destiny. By then, Heavenly Court will understand the complete profundity of heaven's will, we will act in the capacity of heaven, we will become the eternal rulers of the universe. Duke Long spoke softly, but towards the end, his eyes were shining, he showed a fanatical and heated gaze. Rank 10 Immortal Gu. Even a Gu immortal at Fairy Ziwei's level was tongue-tied upon hearing such secrets. Above rank 9, there really is rank 10 realm? Fairy Ziwei asked in complete shock and disbelief. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1235, Blood Competition Ends. Chapter 1235, Blood Competition Ends. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Duke Long sighed, I cannot tell you if there is a rank 10 Gu immortal realm. But rank 10 immortal Gu likely can exist. Because this was confirmed by Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable himself. Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable was the rank 9 Venerable after Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. He was kind and merciful, he did not dispute with people and loved peace, but like Giant Sun Immortal Venerable, he did not truly enter Heavenly Court. There were only 3 immortal venerables who truly entered Heavenly Court and fused their immortal apertures into Heavenly Court. From the start of history, they were respectively, the first rank 9 Venerable, Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable, the creator of Wisdom Path, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, as well as the creator of Wood Path and the owner of Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus, Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable. Northern Plains. The Blood Battle Martial Competition was having its final battle. Chu Du walked onto the stage and said, I am honored. In front of him was a female immortal. She was clad in dazzling palace attire with the lower hems touching the ground, her black hair was tied up high with jade and gold ornaments. Her skin was snow white, her brows slender, her gaze sharp, and her chest was voluptuous and perky. She looked stately and beautiful, giving a feeling that she could not be offended. It was Gong Wanting, Prince Feng Xian's wife. Gong Wanting had a solemn expression as she sighed lightly, Domination Immortal, you live up to your reputation, you defeated Lu Zhuanshen and Yao Yuaning consecutively. Regardless of the result of this battle, the reputation of Domination Immortal will spread in Northern Plains. Lu Zhuanshen and Yao Yuaning, who were mentioned, had pale expressions, there was no choice, Chu Du was stronger than them. All in all, the blood battle martial competition was about to end with the Huangjin tribes suppressing Chu's sect and Baizu tribe's alliance. But towards the end, Chu Du took the stage, giving a slap to the righteous path allied forces. The power of domination immortal struck wariness in these Huangjin bloodline Gu immortals. This was the final battle. Without any other options, Gong Wanting stepped forward. This was a battle between the leaders of both sides. Please. Chu Du was very gentlemanly. Even though he was injured, he did not panic. Surprise flashed in Gong Wanting's eyes as she smiled. Domination immortal is truly brave and heroic. Saying this, a purple light shot towards Chu Du like a blade or sword. Chu Du shouted, moving ahead instead, charging towards Gong Wanting bravely. An intense battle shook heaven and earth. The two sides exchanged moves, and after 100 rounds, there was no victor. They fought on both the ground and in the sky. The blood plane was almost completely destroyed. The spectating immortals had to move back by 30,000 li to avoid getting involved in Chu Du and Gong Wanting's battle. Chu Du's might was unstoppable. He attacked more than he defended, while Gong Wanting did the opposite with much energy to spare. This intense battle lasted for another 100 rounds. Chu Du was covered in injuries, blood spewed out of him, but Gong Wanting was also no longer as relaxed. Her gaze was sweeping over Chu Du, preventing him from attacking her suddenly. She did not dare to be careless. The Gu immortal spectators were all moved. They quickly commented on this intense battle. It was the clash of two experts at the peak of rank 7. Without rank 8 Gu immortals interfering, these two would not be surpassed by Northern Plains Gu immortal world for several hundred years. The sun set, the moon rose. From morning to night, the victor was still not decided. Battling intensely without stop, it was truly heated. By the dawn of the second day, both sides were much weakened. The battle was at its end. Victory could be decided at the next moment. The Gu immortal spectators held their breaths as they watched the ending of this battle. But right at this moment, a grand pillar of light descended and separated Chu Du and Gong Wanting, who were fighting fiercely. That is enough. This battle will end in a draw. Rank 8 Gu immortal Yao Huang showed himself in the air. He looked away as he said, "Does Heavenly Lord agree with me?" Heavenly Lord Baizu appeared from a cloud layer, nodding, "We will fight in the sky." Saying this, both rank 8 Gu immortals flew up into white heaven under everyone's watchful gazes. Soon, the immortals in Blood Plane could hear intense explosions coming from white heaven. It sounded like thunder and beast roars. Domination immortal Chu Du let out a breath of air. He was satisfied with this result. Gong Wanting had a special status. She was Prince Feng Xian's wife. Chu Du thought of this and could not kill her. If he did, he would offend Prince Feng Xian. When Chu Du was all alone, he might not be afraid, but with Chu's sect established, times were different. And Chu Du himself had displayed incredible abilities in this blood battle martial competition. For the sake of Baizu tribe, Heavenly Lord Baizu would not let Chu Du die here. Like what Yao Huang and Heavenly Lord Baizu had discussed before the martial competition, both sides managed to keep their losses to an acceptable level. Gasp, incredible, a crack appeared in white heaven. Hearing this, I can tell how intense the battle is. Unfortunately, we cannot penetrate the heavenly wind chi wall and observe the battle in white heaven. The spectators did not leave, they were conversing. The battle between Heavenly Lord Baizu and Yao Huang would decide everything. During the entire process of the blood battle martial competition, no matter how many sacrifices or losses there were, or all the different battle results, none could compare to this one. Be it either side, they had suffered great losses. But Gu immortals who actually died were not many. Several rank 6 Gu immortals died, few rank 7 Gu immortals died. The biggest loss was actually Yi Lui Kun Xing, who Fang Yuan killed. Towards the later part of the competition, both sides came to a subtle agreement. Of course, Gu immortals getting injured was still a huge issue. Because of Dao marks, injuries were hard to heal. The cost of it would make Gu immortals pay a huge price. Inside white heaven, Heavenly Lord Baizu and Yao Huang were sitting opposite each other. A chessboard was in front of them. Please try this, my newly made gold leaf tea. Yao Huang chuckled, recommending his tea. Heavenly Lord Baizu drank it as he nodded, taking out a big bag of snacks. This is my specialty, fried centipede. The two rank 8 grade experts drank tea and ate fried centipedes as they played chess. It was an enjoyable time. Yao Huang sighed, this fried centipede is fresh and delicious, the flavor never gets tiring, this is truly a rare delicacy. Heavenly Lord Baizu praised too, Brother Yao Huang's gold leaf tea is superior to silver leaf tea. It seems that you are not far from refining resurrection from the dead Gu. Every tea or wine could be treated as an incomplete food path Gu recipe. Often, when Gu immortals compete with their refinement path attainment, to avoid causing a commotion or to protect their reputation, they would offer wine or tea. When Gu immortals taste the tea or wine, they would understand the other person's Gu refinement attainment. Of course, this method was very vague, it was only a shallow probe, it could not show both parties' true strength. Heavenly Lord Baizu could taste something different in Yao Huang's new tea. Because he had drank the silver leaf tea before, comparing the two, Heavenly Lord Baizu could see how Yao Huang's refinement path attainment had improved. This improvement was naturally obtained from Yao Huang's attempts at refining resurrection from the dead immortal Gu. As for Heavenly Lord Baizu, the snack that he created was not simple either, it was a display of his own refinement path attainment. But Heavenly Lord Baizu had been busy creating Baizu tribe recently, he also had to attack Heifan Grotto Heaven, his refinement path aspects did not improve, thus, his fried centipede did not become different. But Yao Huang's gaze was focused below them. Not far away from them, two figures were fighting. One resembled Heavenly Lord Baizu, while the other resembled Yao Huang. Below White Heaven, the clamor that these Gu immortals in the blood plane heard was caused by these two figures. Yao Huang praised, Heavenly Lord, your cloning method is becoming more profound, you can actually mimic 30% of rank 8 level strength. Heavenly Lord Baizu shook his head as he smiled, I don't deserve such praise. These last days, while attacking Heifan Grotto Heaven, I created this immortal killer move after multiple failed attempts at invading it. I have once heard that Longevity Heaven possesses one of Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable's immortal killer moves, Perfect Pair, it can allow a Gu immortal to create a clone that has their full power. My method cannot compare to Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable. Yao Huang smiled. He understood clearly that Heavenly Lord Baizu mentioned Longevity Heaven for more complex underlying reasons. Yao Huang explained, don't worry, Heavenly Lord, as long as Longevity Heaven's rank 8 Gu immortals do not show up, just the Longevity Edict cannot mobilize us. Furthermore, the situation in every region is dependent on the situation of the respective rank 8 Gu immortals, isn't it? Right now in Northern Plains, among the rank 8 Gu immortals, old ancestor Xuehu has the highest battle strength. If he succeeds in refining fortune rivaling Heaven Immortal Gu, he would be unstoppable. But I can see that Snowy Mountain blessed land is heavily guarded now, even we will have trouble breaking into it. Our conflict is just an internal conflict of the righteous path. But if old ancestor Xuehu refines fortune rivaling Heaven Gu, the situation in Northern Plains would favor the demonic path. Yao Huang said slowly as Heavenly Lord Baizu nodded, he agreed with the former's analysis. Originally, when 88 True Yang building collapsed, Northern Plains situation changed, the demonic path rose in power. If old ancestor Xuehu manages to refine fortune rivaling Heaven Immortal Gu, the situation would be even more uncontrollable. Compared to the rise of new righteous path forces, Yao Huang was more unwilling to see the demonic path being rampant. Thankfully, in this martial competition, I invited many lone immortals and demonic path members, a portion of them died, while the rest would join either Chu sect or Baizu tribe, this would weaken the demonic path and strengthen our righteous path. Heavenly Lord Baizu spoke with a smile. Rank 8 Gu immortals had deep considerations. The blood battle martial competition was helping Yao tribe weaken the other Huang Jin tribes, but Heavenly Lord Baizu and Chu Du were also weakening the lone and demonic cultivators, stabilizing the situation in Northern Plains Gu immortal world. But upon the mention of Chu sect, Yao Huang frowned. This Chu sect needs to change. Northern Plains will not allow the emergence of a sect. If Chu Du wants Chu sect to exist, he has to change it to Chu tribe, otherwise, the righteous path will not allow it. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1236, Cultivation itself is enjoyment. Chapter 1236, Cultivation itself is enjoyment. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Yao Huang's attitude was very firm. Heavenly Lord Baizu laughed. You don't have to worry about this, Chu Du understands this and has already talked to me, he can concede on this point. That's good. Yao Huang nodded. Both of them talked for a while more, their chess game was half done, they had wasted enough time, both immortals flew down from white heaven. Next, they announced that Yao Huang had won the battle by a slight margin, and this blood battle martial competition ended with the victory of the Huang Jin tribes. Chu's sect and Baizu tribe's Gu immortals had grim expressions, only Chu Du was calm, he had expected this. In contrast, the Huang Jin tribe Gu immortals were in a joyous mood. The consequences that followed would not be detailed, but the blood battle martial competition that shook Northern Plains Gu immortal world came to an end. Southern border, giant dream realm. Deep in the sea. There was darkness, one could not see their own fingers. Fong Yuan was inside, suffering huge injuries. The pressure of the sea was intense, most importantly, around him, there were countless long dragon silhouettes, swimming around him vigilantly. These were dragons living in the sea. Each sea dragon had desolate beast-level battle strength. There were hundreds, or thousands of sea dragons moving in countless layers. Fong Yuan was currently a rank 6 Gu immortal, but facing this sea dragon group, there was nothing he could do. The most troublesome thing is that I need to kill all of the sea dragons to pass this 9th scene of the dream realm. Fong Yuan smiled bitterly internally. If this was reality, it was unclear what the chances would be for him to break out of the encirclement, and try to survive this dangerous situation. But in this dream realm, there were specific rules. If Fong Yuan wanted to break out and survive, the dream realm exploration would fail. Fong Yuan had no way out. To kill these sea dragons, with just my foundation methods in this dream realm, it is impossible. Thus, if Fong Yuan wanted to pass this, he had only one option available, Immortal Killer Move Unravel Dream. But there are so many sea dragons, Unravel Dream can be used less than 10 times, it cannot resolve this huge problem. It seems that this scene is the final moment of the dream realm's main character. Fong Yuan gained deep insight. Dream realms had different categories, most were realistic dream realms, they replicated the lifeform's experiences in their lives, but there were also few which were rare and peculiar, dream realms that were strange and weird. Fong Yuan was exploring a realistic dream realm, but the severity of the content might be exaggerated compared to the actual event, even though there were some actual scenes that happened before. This Gu immortal was once a combat immortal sect Gu master. He had decent aptitude, but after becoming rank 6, compared to other Gu immortals, he was no longer so amazing. The 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent allocate resources according to sect contribution. This Gu immortal's aptitude was far from exemplary, he did not have great strength or powerful methods, it was hard to get sect contribution points, so he could not get much resources. That was why he went to explore Eastern Sea. In the end, when he passed the regional walls, his immortal aperture's foundation was damaged. Next, he heard some rumors about the immortal Gu House Dragon Palace and came to this sea area. In the end, he died here from the attacks of the sea dragons. Thinking of this, Fong Yuan made up his mind, he chose to give up. He left this dream realm. Normally speaking, the deeper one gets into the dream realm, the greater their gains after getting past the scene. But Fong Yuan wisely chose to retreat. He withheld his remaining uses of Unravel Dream, he was not going to waste them here for no reason. A moment later, Fong Yuan returned to reality. Using Guts Gu to heal himself, he inspected his own body again. Water Path Quasi-Grand Master. His attainment level did not change. He was still a distance away from Grandmaster level. But it was already enough to many of the blessed lands in City Well, because most of them were rank 6 blessed lands. According to my current situation, it would be best if I could raise all of my attainment levels to at least master. That way, I would be able to annex any rank 6 blessed land. Even though rank 6 blessed lands have diminishing effect on raising my cultivation level, with enough quantity, the gains are still very prominent. Fang Yuan thought. Next, he entered his own dream realm and refined some dream path mortal Gu. Of course, he used some time for deductions as well. These last days, he had an inspiration to fuse the killer moves Myriad Self and Sword Dragon transformation. His deductions were progressing smoothly. Fang Yuan had enough strength path attainment, and his transformation path attainment level was also Grandmaster. The only drawback was that his wisdom path deduction methods were slightly lacking. But it was no problem. Lady White Rabbit came to report to him about the situation of the immortal opportunity business, as well as some information. Fang Yuan sat down on his cushion as he shut his eyes, telling her, "Go ahead and talk, I am listening." Fang Yuan was deducing his own matters while listening to Lady White Rabbit. He was multitasking. A wisdom path grandmaster could do this with ease. Lady White Rabbit talked as she looked at Fang Yuan's face. Deep affection was in her gaze. But to her disappointment, until she finished her report, Fang Yuan did not open his eyes to look at her once. "Okay, you can go now," Fang Yuan said. Lady White Rabbit could only leave slowly while feeling disappointed, as she looked at him with a longing gaze. Outside the room, Wu-En was waiting long ago. "Lady, this way please." Wu-En's attitude towards Lady White Rabbit was even more polite than before. Lady White Rabbit was allowed to meet Fang Yuan. This showed that he still favored her. Thus, Wu-En placed a lot of importance on Lady White Rabbit, because she represented the future of the immortal opportunity business. Lady White Rabbit was a little worried, asking Wu-En, "Wu-En, does Lord Wu-Yi cultivate like this all the time?" Wu-En was stunned. "What do you mean?" Lady White Rabbit sighed in a gloomy tone. "Lord Wu-Yi cultivates really hard, he does not even waste any second of his time. Even when listening to my report, he did not stop cultivating. Has he always been like this?" Wu-En blinked. "Lady, I will speak the truth. Even though I have never watched Lord Wu-Yi cultivate, just a glimpse can tell many things. Lord Wu-Yi might be the most hardworking cultivator I have ever seen in my life. Disregarding anything else, just the fact that he is staying in his room and cultivating without leaving for so long, that would be impossible for me." Lady White Rabbit became even more worried. "Precisely so, I am worried about Lord Wu-Yi. When he cultivates, he truly risks his life. There is a limit to cultivation speed. If he keeps at this, I am afraid he might not be able to endure it, and his mental state would be ruined. Wu-En, if you have a chance, you must talk to Lord Wu-Yi, okay?" Wu-En thought, "You have met with him more than I have, what can I do?" But he still nodded, acknowledging, "If I get a chance, I will talk to Lord Wu-Yi about this." Fang Yuan analyzed Lady White Rabbit's information. He had a clear grasp of southern border situation all along thanks to this. All in all, southern border was still quite peaceful. Even though Wu Du Xiu died, and Wu clan only had one rank 8 Gu immortal, Wu Yong, left. But this person displayed great battle strength and political methods after taking over Wu clan. Precisely so, even though Ba clan, Tai clan and others were watching closely, they had to contain their dark intentions. The situation of the rank 8 Gu immortals was reflected on southern border in many aspects. The situation at the Super Gu formation was still calm. The immortal opportunity business was ongoing. Gu immortals benefited and profited secretly. They were very happy. There were also Gu immortals who did not participate, simply looking on from afar. The Northern Plains blood battle martial competition has ended. Chu sect became Chu tribe, Baizu tribe was preserved, while the Huangjin tribes won and gained a lot of cultivation resources. This way, Northern Plains is also stabilizing. Eastern Sea, Western Desert, and Central Continent have little information available. Most of them are obtained from Treasure Yellow Heaven. I only have a vague idea. But they are also relatively peaceful now. In truth, a peaceful state was most common in the 5 regions. Who would go ahead and fight to the death if a peaceful life was available? Northern Plains chaos was thanks to Fang Yuan. He destroyed 88 True Yang building, and in addition to shadow sect schemes, a terrifying situation was created. Only in the 5 regions chaotic war did the 5 regions go into chaos, all sorts of order was torn down, fighting to become Gu immortal was the main trend. The current situation was very calm. This was best for Fang Yuan. He entered his own dream realm, refining his dream path mortal Gu. Amidst green and verdant mountains, the merchant caravan was temporarily resting at the base of a mountain. Boom! Moonlight curved in the air agilely, moving past a rock ahead and hitting the tree branch behind it accurately. Immediately, wood shavings were sliced off, the thin branch was nearly cut down by the moonlight. After practicing for so many days, I finally succeeded. Fang Yuan was covered in sweat, he felt immense joy. Lad, not bad huh? Gu Master Big Beard walked towards Fang Yuan. Uncle Beard, thanks for teaching me this. Fang Yuan gave a wide smile, he showed his white teeth as he smiled, he was a bright and joyful lad. Gu Master Big Beard was almost blinded by his shining aura, he blinked as he asked in confusion, normal people would only be able to go through such intense training for a week or so. But you woke up early and slept late, you would cultivate so long as you had the time, after a month, your enthusiasm has not faded yet. Is this boring cultivation process really so interesting? Fang Yuan clenched his fists, his eyes were shining like the stars in the sky. Of course, uncle, don't you find it amazing and incredible? A person can unleash incredible attacks with a wave of their hand. Cultivation itself is a very enjoyable thing. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know in report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1237, Dragon Lady. Chapter 1237, Dragon Lady. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Gu Master Big Beard naturally did not understand Fang Yuan's emotions. As a transmigrator from Earth, the special abilities of Gu Masters were simply superhuman. Turning from a normal person to a superhuman, of course Fang Yuan would be excited and enthusiastic. Furthermore, my aptitude is low, only at C grade. How can I not work harder? The young Fang Yuan chuckled as he spoke. Uncle, go ahead with your business, I will continue cultivating. Fang Yuan said again. Gu Master Big Beard laughed as he shook his head, tactfully leaving. Standing afar, he looked at Fang Yuan who was cultivating earnestly, he had a complex gaze as he muttered, even if you work so hard, what for? C-grade aptitude, cruel reality will assault you and extinguish that fire of enthusiasm, failure will get rid of your excitement. Such enthusiasm and hard work, how long can it last? At another corner of the dream realm, the real Fang Yuan was holding onto the branch that was nearly cut off by the moonlight. Not bad, this dream path Gu material is quite good, if I am lucky, I can refine more than 10 dream path mortal Gu. He smiled lightly as his deep dark pupils flickered with light, resembling stars in the sky. By Xiang Grotto Heaven. The humans alike dragon's Gu refinement method was at its final crucial moment. Persevere, you cannot slack for even a moment, master, you can do it, you can definitely succeed. By Xiang Heavenly Spirit screamed. The Gu formation was operating, the pillar of light was tall and mighty, like it was holding up heaven and earth. The center of the pillar was so shiny that one could not look at the light directly, there was a human-shaped figure of fire in it. It was Bai Ning Bing. His face and body had all melted, like candles that were exposed to intense heat. His hair was all burned, his eyes were blind, even his hands and legs were all melted into one. Bai Ning Bing was nothing like a human. The intense pain had never stopped assaulting him for the last weeks. Initially, he screamed in pain, roaring at the sky, nearly fainting. But afterwards, he survived countless dangerous situations, forcibly preserving his life until now. Gritting his teeth and enduring. Next, his teeth and tongue were also melted by the raging wave rising dragon fire, fusing together. He smiled. A relentless smile. Next, he could not even smile anymore, because his nose and face had all melted like wax. Now, he was just a human pole. It was a horrific sight. But Bai Xiang Heavenly Spirit could sense Bai Ningbing's determination. His determination was firm as steel. After the burning of the fire and the pain that tempered him, he was becoming more firm and unwavering. Such determination made even Bai Xiang Heavenly Spirit lost for words. Initially, even Bai Xiang Heavenly Spirit did not think Bai Ningbing would succeed. Because Bai Ningbing's situation was too terrible, the humans-alike dragon's Gu refinement method was extremely dangerous. Every Gu refinement carried risks of failure. In history, any Gu master or Gu immortal who tried to turn into a dragon man would be extremely careful and make ample preparations, only taking this risk after they were sufficiently prepared. Boom! An intense sound resembled the striking of thunder. The pillar of light dissipated, as a lump of fire flew upwards. It was shaped like a fiery dragon, its red body was strong as ever. After flying one round in the sky, it flew down towards Bai Ningbing. Bai Ningbing was a lump of meat now. His bones, flesh, Dao marks, blood, and skin were all fused into one. The meat seemed like a bottomless hole, absorbing the whole of the fiery dragon that crashed towards it. Next, the meat turned red, the temperature rose, intense flames were raging nearby, causing distortions in the air due to the high heat. When the lump of meat became red to the extreme, it exploded. Within a bright light, a brand new Bai Ningbing was born. Success, we succeeded. Bai Xiang Heavenly Spirit stared with wide eyes and muttered. Under the rays of the lingering light, Bai Ningbing raised her head to the sky. Only to hear her say, 10,000 li mountain and 9 layers of the abyss, dragon's coil at the bottom of the well. Today I rise up towards the clouds, my proud body soars towards true freedom. Her voice sounded like the roar of a dragon, winds were rumbling as it echoed in the entire Bai Xiang grotto heaven. Bai Xiang Heavenly Spirit was in admiration. He knelt on the ground and said, "Congratulations to Master's new life, you have regained your immortal status." Bai Ningbing stopped her roaring, she descended. She was expressionless, her skin was white as snow, her facial features were even more distinct now, her beauty had surpassed her former self. Her pale blue dragon eyes were emitting a cold aura to the outside world. But at the next moment, shock was expressed in her dragon eyes. What is going on? I already became an immortal, I have a real immortal aperture, why did I become a woman? This. Bai Xiang Heavenly Spirit thought about his words carefully before explaining. The humans-alike dragon's Gu refinement method uses master as the immortal material. The result of the refinement depends on the proportion of immortal materials and how they mix together. Master had transformation path Dao marks earlier. To think that these Dao marks would affect your body and actually influence the final result of the Gu refinement, turning you into a dragon lady. Bai Ningbing. She realized that the information path Dao marks and all her alliance agreements were gone, but the transformation path Dao marks still affected the results of her refinement. Like what the Heavenly Spirit said, the humans-alike dragon's Gu refinement method could not be strictly controlled. The participating immortal material had a lot of influence on the result. Bai Ningbing furrowed her brows. This was like a curse. Her female body curse had started ever since she was in Qin Mao Mountain. After pondering for a while, Bai Ningbing asked, "How can I turn back to a man?" Bai Xiang Heavenly Spirit replied, "This is easy, just cultivate transformation path in addition." Bai Ningbing was knowledgeable, she shook her head, "That does not solve the underlying problem. I have my northern dark ice soul physique, I will cultivate ice and snow path in the future." Bai Xiang Heavenly Spirit thought about it before saying, "Master, you have been reborn, the female body is your true gender. But if you want to change it, you will need to approach its root cause and find the other half of that rotation Gu from the past, and refine it into an immortal Gu. Using that immortal Gu, you will be able to become a man." Bai Ningbing. The image of a person appeared in her mind uncontrollably. "Fong Yuan, to think that you would still be an obstacle to me now. Humph. Bai Ningbing snorted internally. She knew that Fang Yuan had the rank 8 battle strength upper extreme heavenly eagle. She had to plan for a long time to get that crucial Gu worm from Fang Yuan. Central Continent, Spirit Affinity House. Above the clouds, Gu immortals gathered. Spirit Affinity House's first Supreme Elder said, Bu Zhenzi, you have to protect our sex fairy in this Northern Plains journey. She is only a false immortal, and her ascension was only recently. Bu Zhenzi was a Supreme Elder of Spirit Affinity House, a rank 7 Phantom Path Gu immortal. He said, everyone, as long as I am alive, I will ensure her safety. He spoke with great confidence. First Supreme Elder nodded, looking at Zhao Lianyun, you must not charge ahead in this journey, always protect your own safety. Leave the rest to the others. The Gu immortals going with you are all elite experts of the 10 great ancient sects. With our advantage as the attacker, there is a high chance of success. Zhao Lianyun nodded. She understood now that this granny was actually the Gu immortal with the highest authority in Spirit Affinity House. She bowed deeply to the first Supreme Elder, Su Hao, and Li Juning. I am going now. Set off. First Supreme Elder waved her hand. Bu Zhenzi cupped his fists, bringing Zhao Lianyun with him, riding on a ruined bat and flying away. To think that Zhao Lianyun would become our sex fairy. Heaven is toying with us. I wonder if she will be able to save that Ma Hongyun. In my opinion, the chances are high. After all of the Gu immortals going to Northern Plains are elites of our sex. This is a powerful force. The Gu immortals conversed as they left. I will go talk to our daughter. Fairy Bai Qing had a look of worry as she spoke to Feng Jiugu. Feng Jiugu nodded. This time, he also wanted to go to Northern Plains, but Heavenly Court denied his suggestion. Feng Jiugu was a legendary genius rarely seen in thousands of years. He was so talented none could match him. He possessed rank 8 battle strength with just rank 7 cultivation level. According to common logic, he would be the best person to send to Northern Plains, but he was unable to become part of the rescue team. At this point, Feng Jiugu did not know what Heavenly Court was thinking or planning. When Fairy Bai Qing met with Feng Jin Huang, the latter was sitting by the lake, looking at the ripples on the surface as she went into a daze. Fairy Bai Qing felt caring and affection in her heart. She knew, her daughter had always wanted to become Spirit Affinity House's fairy. She worked hard for it. But now, Zhao Lianyun gained Love Gu's acknowledgement. She was also supported by Heavenly Court, becoming Spirit Affinity House's fairy. This way, Feng Jin Huang was eliminated from the competition. Fairy Bai Qing walked towards Feng Jin Huang. Why? Still thinking about the fairy position? No, mother, I was thinking, why did I not obtain Love Gu's acknowledgement? Feng Jin Huang's eyes were red. She had secretly cried earlier. That is because you do not have love. Fairy Bai Qing sat beside Feng Jin Huang, stretching out her hand as she touched Feng Jin Huang's hair. Feng Jin Huang asked, why do I not have love? What is love? Fairy Bai Qing's gaze flickered. She thought about it before saying, love is different from familial affection and friendship. It is a type of affinity, like when I met your father. Love came suddenly and nobody expected it. Love cannot be forced, it is all up to your affinity. Feng Jin Huang shook her head. I do not want to leave it to fate. This is not my style. I want to find love and be acknowledged by Love Gu, and take back the position of fairy. Mother, do you think this is possible? Fairy Bai Qing smiled. This was basically impossible, but seeing her daughter's expectant gaze, as a mother, how could she say the truth? Thus, she said, there is a possibility, but you need to find a lover first. A lover is not your father or mother, or those female companions by your side. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1238, Luck Path Master. Chapter 1238, Luck Path Master. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Mother, you mean to say, it has to be. Feng Jin Huang frowned. In the process of her growth, there were few youngsters who could match her. Spirit Affinity House had more women than men. This made Feng Jin Huang look down on those males of her generation since a young age. There was another important reason, that was, Feng Jin Huang's father was too talented. It elevated her expectations. She could not see anything good in those boys around her. Fairy Bai Qing nodded, asking teasingly, "That's right, Huang heir, among those youngsters you met, who are you interested in?" Feng Jin Huang frowned. After thinking about it, she shook her head. Fairy Bai Qing almost laughed out loud. Her daughter's puzzled look was extremely cute. She asked again, "Then let me change my question, which youngster left the deepest impression on you?" At this moment, Feng Jin Huang was stunned. Fang Yuan's image uncontrollably appeared in her mind. Fang Yuan was the one who dealt a pitiful defeat to her. Feng Jin Huang would never forget the scene on Dang Hun Mountain. Furthermore, Fang Yuan had saved Feng Jiuji's life before. All of these events made Feng Jin Huang have extremely complex feelings towards Fang Yuan. It was not pure hatred. It was also not pure gratitude. Fairy Bai Qing looked at Feng Jin Huang, who was in a daze, and her expression turned dark. She became flustered as she blamed herself. "Oh no! Why did I forget about Fang Yuan's existence?" Fairy Bai Qing quickly said, "Huang heir, don't think about it." As a mother, Fairy Bai Qing was very worried. Even though Feng Jin Huang had grown a lot, she was still innocent regarding relationships, like a blank white sheet of paper. That Fang Yuan is an otherworldly demon. He used spring-autumn cicada to rebirth. His actual age is probably older than both myself and your father. Fairy Bai Qing said in a solemn tone. Most importantly, he is listed on the Demon Judgment Board. He is a vicious and evil demon, slaughtering countless and causing great harm to the world. He is very dangerous. But he saved father. Feng Jin Huang retorted. Fairy Bai Qing said in a serious tone, looking deeply into Feng Jin Huang's eyes, "You must remember this, gratitude and enmity cannot be mixed together. You need to draw the line. His gratitude of saving your father's life was a coincidence. We will definitely repay him. But he is a demonic path member. He is vile and vicious. After repaying that debt, if we meet him again, we will exterminate him. Understood?" Feng Jin Huang nodded, "Understood." Southern border, Fang Yuan was inside the dream realm. Achoo! Achoo! Fang Yuan sneezed twice. He rubbed his nose as he said to the female Gu master in front of him, "Again." The female Gu master was at the counter in front of him. She took out 3 rocks, "Please." This was another dream realm. The earlier water path dream realm was too hard at the end. Fang Yuan gave up. A few days later, the dream realm changed, and a suitable one appeared for Fang Yuan. What made him happy was that successfully exploring this dream realm would raise his luck path attainment level. Luck path Gu immortals were very few in numbers. Because even though Giant Sun Immortal Venerable created luck path, he did not spread it. Thus, dream realms that contained luck path true meaning were rare. It was unlikely that Fang Yuan could encounter such a dream realm. Fang Yuan looked at the 3 rocks. He knew that according to the rules, he would need to win 3 consecutive times, finding the most valuable item in these 3 rocks to get to the second scene. Rock gambling. I succeeded twice already. If I fail now, my efforts would be in vain. Should use Unravel Dream. Fang Yuan activated the immortal killer move Unravel Dream. After waiting for a while, nothing happened. What is going on? While he was confused, the female Gu master who attended to him looked at him amorously and whispered, "Little brother, choose the middle one. Don't worry, I won't harm you." Saying this, she winked at Fang Yuan in a subtle manner. It had a teasing flavor. Fang Yuan finally realized, this was Unravel Dream's effect. He did not hesitate, he grabbed the middle one. The 3 rocks were opened. None had any Gu worms, but with the quality of the rocks themselves, the middle one had the highest value. The first scene faded, as he quickly entered the second scene. Northern Plains. Longevity Heaven. Rank 8 Immortal Gu House, Calamity Luck Altar. 3 floors of round altars with multiple pillars holding it up, white jade railings and shining aurora. 8 Gu immortals in Longevity Heaven were standing at the center of the 9 corners of Calamity Luck Altar, doing their best to concentrate in controlling the operations of Calamity Luck Altar. At the center of Calamity Luck Altar, 5 Elements Grandmaster had a solemn expression. He was surrounded by 3 layers of rings in the 5 elements, but Calamity Luck Altar's pressure was increasing. 5 Elements Grandmaster had to use his true abilities to resist it. Both parties were silent, because it was clear that both sides could not be moved with just words. But at this moment, the entirety of Longevity Heaven resounded with bell chimes. The 8 extremities heard the bell chimes and shook. They were shocked and full of questions. This is the immortal killer move, ringing alarm bell. Why did it activate? In the past, Ancestor Giant Sun set up this immortal killer move in Longevity Heaven. If we met with trouble, it would activate. But 5 Elements Grandmaster has already been trapped. The 8 extremities were conversing, feeling lost. The leader of the 8 extremities, Heaven Extremity, said, "No, even when 5 Elements Grandmaster attacked, ringing alarm bell did not activate. Right now, it is pointing to another danger." The others were flustered. This means that the following calamity is going to be more severe than 5 Elements Grandmaster's attack. Right now, we have to use our full strength to suppress 5 Elements Grandmaster using Calamity Luck Altar. We cannot divert our attention. How will we deal with it? With Calamity Luck Altar here, heavenly tribulations and earthly calamities cannot do anything to us. It has to be a terrifying human calamity instead. The second in charge, Earth Extremity, looked at Heaven Extremity and said, "In this situation, we can only awaken the 4 Desolation Immortals." Heaven Extremity had a solemn expression as he nodded. 5 Elements Grandmaster spoke with a smile. Longevity Heaven can barely fend for itself. I am curious, what kind of disaster can make this ringing alarm bell activate? Heaven Extremity was about to speak when a voice could be heard near him. These so-called disasters are accompanied by fortune and good luck. They are luck path in essence, a type of uncertainty. As Gu immortals, we have to turn these negative uncertainties into positive uncertainties. The concept of Calamity Luck Altar was derived from this. Heaven Extremity heard this voice and felt great joy and surprise. 5 Elements Grandmaster looked at this mysterious Gu immortal who appeared, asking, "Which of the 4 Desolation Immortals are you?" "Greetings to Lord South Desolation." The 8 extremities respectfully greeted at once, giving the answer to 5 Elements Grandmaster. Longevity Heaven had 12 positions, separated into 8 extremities and 4 desolations. The 4 Desolation Immortals were East Desolation, South Desolation, West Desolation, and North Desolation, for rank 8 Immortals respectively. The 8 extremities were, Heaven Extremity, Earth Extremity, Black Extremity, Yellow Extremity, Space Extremity, Time Extremity, Flood Extremity, Desolate Extremity, a total of 8 rank 7 Gu Immortals. Of course, Longevity Heaven was Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's Grotto Heaven. It had a huge space and abundant resources. Other than these 12, there were other Gu Immortals. But these 12 had the core authority of Longevity Heaven. They were elites among Gu Immortals. South Desolation Immortal wore an azure gold suit of armor, his beard extended to his chest. He was a muscular man with an old appearance. He said, "When the bell rang, I woke up. This sound has 3 long notes and 2 short notes. It is neither fast or slow. It means that Love Gu has entered Northern Plains. Love Gu has the power to defy fate. In the past, even Ancestor was wary of it. To obtain Love Gu, Ancestor made a bet with Heavenly Court, but he failed to refine it even after 3 years. He could only set up some supreme luck path methods in it, that would activate one day. Love Gu would come to Northern Plains due to luck, and this would be the best opportunity for us to snatch Love Gu. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's immortal killer move was very amazing. His descendants could gain some information just by hearing the bells. Even though the 8 extremities knew of ringing alarm bell, they did not know its specific details. After hearing South Desolation Immortal's words, they were excited. It turned out that long ago, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable had made his preparations. Heaven Extremity said, "Us 8 extremities will follow Lord South Desolation's lead. we are willing to die for longevity heaven, and obtain love immortal Gu. Southern border. This is by Xiang Grotto heaven. He Lu Lan stepped through the immortal aperture's entrance, officially getting into Bai Xiang Grotto heaven. Tai Bai Yun Sheng, Ing Wu Xia and Shi Nu followed behind. Something's not right. Ing Wu Xia's expression changed. At the next moment, the surroundings changed, the Gu formation was activated, trapping the four immortals in a special space. Bai Ningbing's figure slowly appeared. Shi Nu was shocked and furious, he growled, "You are Bai Ningbing? You dare to betray us? Humph, remnants of Shadow Sect, today will be the day you die." Bai Ningbing smiled coldly, a cruel light was shining in her pale blue dragon eyes. Ing Wu Xia was greatly surprised, Bai Ningbing had broken free of his control, this was out of his expectations. He had a flash of inspiration, "So that's it, you used the humans-alike dragon's Gu refinement method?" This method had been lost long ago, Bai Xiang Grotto heaven actually had it. "Honestly speaking, I need to thank you, now accept this present of gratitude from me." Bai Ningbing snickered, the image of the four immortals faded in front of her, before they vanished completely. "Wait, we can still negotiate." Ing Wu Xia had not finished his words when the Gu formation activated, large amounts of snow rained as countless ice spears shot up from the ground, the four immortals quickly defended themselves. Remains of Tian Mountain, inside the Super Gu formation. Fong Yuan opened his eyes, returning to reality. His soul was extremely weak, but it was not a problem, he had enough guts Gu to use. Luck Path Master. Fong Yuan inspected himself, his luck path attainment had risen to master level. The luck path dream realm earlier was fully explored. He had no remaining uses of unraveled dream, but his gains were huge, his luck path attainment had jumped from ordinary to master attainment level. He immediately felt a difference. This feeling was mystical, it could not be described with words. If my luck path attainment is at Grandmaster level, I might want to get the self-luck true inheritance from Lang Yalan's spirit, if I can use it well, my strength would rise greatly. In my current case, I feel like I can already use Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu and Dog Shit Luck Immortal Gu together, to greatly boost the effect of my Immortal Killer Move Chi Luck Sensation. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1239, Filled with Killing Intent. Chapter 1239, Filled with Killing Intent. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Chi Luck Sensation. This immortal killer move came from He Fan Grotto Heaven, the inheritance of Gu Immortal Feng Jun. It used Chi Luck Immortal Gu as the core, with supplementary Mortal Gu, to allow a Gu Immortal to sense people who were closely related to them in terms of luck. Furthermore, the closer they were to each other, the clearer the connection would feel. Fong Yuan used this move to sense the locations of Ing Wu Xia and the rest, even though they were separated by regional walls. This was because Ing Wu Xia and the rest had their luck connected to Fong Yuan. After using Connect Luck, both parties would have their luck closely connected, they would share both fortune and disaster together. However, with Ing Wu Xia's methods, he was able to negate a portion of the effect of Chi Luck Sensation, he even could hide inside an immortal aperture to cut himself off from Fong Yuan's detection. Fong Yuan was very wary of Ing Wu Xia and gang, even though Shadow Sect was a fraction of its former size, a broken ship was still better than a plank, a dying camel was larger than a horse, by just gathering Shadow Sect's remaining resources, Ing Wu Xia and the rest would grow much more rapidly than Fong Yuan and at a steadier rate. This time, after elevating Chi Luck Sensation, I should be able to detect the locations of Ing Wu Xia and the rest. I will eliminate them in advance and get rid of this huge threat. Fong Yuan decided to add Unravel Mystery into Chi Luck Sensation, causing this killer move to have two cores instead of one. Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu is Wisdom Path, I should add some Wisdom Path Gu in. After that, I will use some Group Think Gu and some Mortal Connect Luck Gu, and some Pair Gu and Sequence Gu. Fong Yuan did not make any deductions, he was making decisions based on his instincts. A large number of Mortal Gu were added in. Among these Gu worm, a portion were owned by Fang Yuan, but he had to buy more of them through Treasure Yellow Heaven. Without any hurdles, soon, he obtained these Gu worms. But next, he did not activate the Immortal Killer move immediately, he went to do further testing. After adding so many Gu worms, Chi Luck sensation had changed greatly. If he activated it blindly, he might just fail immediately, Fang Yuan might get injured, or worse, his Gu worms might be destroyed. Destroying mortal Gu was fine, but if his immortal Gu were destroyed, what would he do? When Gu immortals create a new Immortal Killer move, the experimentation process was also very risky. Fang Yuan first separated the new Chi Luck sensation into several portions and did experiments on them one by one. The results of the experiments were very good. Not a single one failed. Fang Yuan next used wisdom path methods to deduce, modify and improve on the newly created Chi Luck sensation. Half a day later, Fang Yuan finally finished his deductions. He activated the newly modified Chi Luck sensation for the first time. Halfway through activating it, a small problem that was beyond Fang Yuan's estimations occurred. It was not a big problem, but the result of success might possibly be affected. Fang Yuan was vigilant, he forcibly stopped the activation. Many mortal Gu were destroyed. Fang Yuan did not even blink at the result. As long as Chi Luck Immortal Gu and Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu were fine, it was no problem. He was very rich now, expending some mortal Gu was simply a negligible loss to Fang Yuan. As for the supplementary mortal Gu, they did not need to be purchased. Fang Yuan had considered this situation long ago, thus he purchased more than what he needed for one activation. He continued to deduce and found out the reasons that resulted in this unexpected change. This time, Fang Yuan spent half a day again modifying the Immortal Killer move. After fixing it, he experimented again. This time, towards the later half of the Immortal Killer move, a mishap occurred again. The Immortal Killer move used too many Gu worms. Fang Yuan could not completely deduce the entire process. Even though these small unexpected sparks appeared minimally, Fang Yuan still thought of inspecting them. He forcibly stopped the killer move once again. Be it Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu or Chi Luck Immortal Gu, they had to be used at the final juncture. Thus, although he lost many mortal Gu, they were inconsequential. After repeated trial and error, he continued to deduce and modify it. Several days later, Fang Yuan finally obtained a relatively perfect version of Chi Luck sensation. This Immortal Killer move used 3 times the number of Gu worms as before, with 2 Immortal Gu as the core, Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu and Chi Luck Immortal Gu. They were like 2 shining suns in the sky. Activating the new Chi Luck sensation. A mystical feeling appeared inside Fang Yuan. First, he detected Yifan, Hongyi, and Hanli. They were in southern border, central continent, and western desert respectively. The exact details were clearer than before, especially Yifan. Fang Yuan could tell that he was currently on Xianxia mountain. The rest were more vague. Yingwu and He Lulan appeared in Fang Yuan's detection again. It was vague, countless times less clear compared to Yifan. He also did not know their exact location, but Fang Yuan could tell the general area they were in. Strange, other than Yingwu and He Lulan, there is a third person, but they are just as unclear as them. Don't tell me Yingwu used Connect Luck Immortal Gu to connect his luck with an unknown Gu immortal. Fang Yuan guessed the truth immediately. He frowned. Connect Luck Immortal Gu was in Yingwu hands. This was no secret. This was Fang Yuan's weakness. Currently, Fang Yuan no longer used Spring-Autumn Cicada, he sealed it. In regards to luck, with dog shit luck Immortal Gu's protection, it had turned from a weakness to his strength. But Yingwu and the rest were taking a portion of Fang Yuan's advantage. When Giant Sun Immortal Venerable developed in his early days, a lot of his success was attributed to this dog shit luck Immortal Gu. But Fang Yuan was not enjoying it alone. His dog shit luck Immortal Gu's effect was split among other people. If it was split equally with Yifan, Hanli, He Lulan, and Hongyi, so be it. After all, these were 4 lucky people. But Yingwu and that new Gu immortal were huge burdens. They were weakening the effects of dog shit luck. This direction, to think that they are in southern border. Xianxia and the rest need to be eliminated. After killing them, I will be truly safe, nobody would come after the sovereign immortal body again. At the same time, after I kill them and remove the threat, my luck will rise greatly, the true power of dog shit luck would be unleashed. At this moment, Fang Yuan was filled with killing intent. He wanted to move immediately and get rid of Xianxia and the rest once and for all. Central Continent. It is time, we can go now. Rank 8 Gu Immortal Wei Lingyang shouted. His voice was hoarse, he had a middle-aged appearance with dark bags under his eyes and looked listless, giving others a feeling of extreme fatigue. But he was the strongest among the 3 rank 8 Gu Immortals on this journey, he was tasked as the leader of this rescue mission. Along with him, there were Bai Chen Tian and Myriad Tidal Dragon. These 2 were rank 8 Gu Immortals as well. Bai Chen Tian joined the Battle of Tian Mountain and survived in the end. Myriad Tidal Dragon had higher seniority than Bai Chen Tian. Recently, he was given pointers by Duke Long, his strength rose again. Duke Long was old and it was difficult for him to fight once again, but he controlled the situation and immediately changed the way that Heavenly Court functioned. They sent out 3 rank 8 Gu Immortals, all from Heavenly Court. They had phantom apertures but their battle strength greatly surpassed the rank 8 Gu Immortals of the 10 great ancient sects. The Immortals acknowledged his words and split into 3 groups, entering 3 Immortal Gu houses respectively. These 3 Immortal Gu houses were, Wind Cloud Manor's Wind Sweeping Building, it had 7 floors and had fluttering curtains, Heavenly Lotus Sect's Canary Pavilion, small and exquisite, filled with liveliness, Combat Immortal Sect's Edge Link Camp, it was a military stronghold with waving battle flags. Each Immortal Gu house was guarded by a rank 8 Gu Immortal. Zhao Lianyun was in the middle one, Wind Cloud Manor's Wind Sweeping Building. She was at the top floor, the safest place inside this Immortal Gu house. Right now, our group is too powerful, we have 3 rank 8 Gu Immortals as well as 3 Immortal Gu houses. Victory is basically assured. Bu Zhenzi followed behind Zhao Lianyun, saying this. Zhao Lianyun nodded, she was expressionless but her heart was jumping. Hong Yun, I am coming. You must persevere. The 3 Immortal Gu houses were like shooting stars, flying towards the sky. Edge Link Camp was at the front, opening a path for the rest. Wind Sweeping Building was in the middle, in charge of reinforcements. Canary Pavilion was at the back, looking out for unexpected situations. The Heavenly Wind Chi Wall was right before them. Boom! Edge Link Camp unleashed its might, giant sharp horns were formed, resembling solid figures, as they stabbed into the Heavenly Wind Chi Wall fiercely. Without any resistance, they forcefully created a tunnel. Wind Sweeping Building and Canary Pavilion followed after it quickly. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Wind Sweeping Building continued to shake, Zhao Lianyun was also shaking at the top floor, almost falling down. Bu Zhenzi was tongue-tied, it is said that the Heavenly Wind Chi Wall is thicker than the 5 regional walls, it seems to be true after seeing it myself. Our Wind Sweeping Building is just in the center, moving along the created tunnel, yet the heavenly winds are already causing us to be so unstable. It is hard to imagine what it is like inside Edge Link Camp. The Heavenly Wind Chi Wall was created by Heavenly Wind Chi, even after creating a tunnel, the wind would rush in and fill the gap very quickly. Thus, the 3 Immortal Gu houses were very close together, almost touching the edges of each other, they continued to charge forward. Halfway through their journey, Edge Link Camp lost many Gu worms, its charging power fell and it went to the back. Wind Sweeping Building replaced Edge Link Camp spot, taking charge of creating a path ahead. After a quarter of the journey, Canary Pavilion went to the front. This way, some days later, the 3 Immortal Gu houses finally broke through the Heavenly Wind Chi Wall and reached Black Heaven. Right now, in the Gu Master World, there were only Black Heaven and White Heaven left of the immemorial 9 heavens. It was clear why they did not choose White Heaven. It was to prevent exposing themselves. Black Heaven had natural concealment, it could help to hide the traces of the 3 Immortal Gu houses to an extent. This way, the Central Continent Gu Immortals would ensure that they had the advantage in launching a sneak attack on this journey. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., Please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1240, Usefulness of Attainment Level. Chapter 1240, Usefulness of Attainment Level. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Southern Border. Inside the Super Gu Formation. Fong Yuan recalled the power of Qi Luck sensation, realizing the usefulness of attainment level. The process of elevating Qi Luck sensation just now was quite tedious, but it was actually very easy. Everything flowed naturally like water running down a drain. Ordinary Gu immortals would face difficulty in trying to improve or complete an immortal killer move. For example, Vicious Lightning Fiend from Myriad Dragon Dock of the 10 Great Ancient Sects took years before creating the immortal killer move Lightning Deity. Vicious Lightning Fiend's Lightning Deity was deduced using the remnant recipe of Blood Deity. It involved both Lightning Path and Blood Path. Vicious Lightning Fiend had enough Lightning Path attainment level, but his Blood Path attainment was just ordinary. Thus, he had to spend years, using resources from Myriad Dragon Dock, to succeed with difficulty. This is the lack of attainment level, one can only deduce forcefully. Maybe high wisdom path attainment level can provide a lot of help, otherwise, inspiration or time would be needed. He Fan was a time path great expert, but even he had many immortal killer moves that were not completed after his death, right? However, once the attainment level is sufficient, deducing killer moves will no longer be deductions, it would be an instinct. It is extremely easy. Fong Yuan thought about it. Just now, he elevated the immortal killer move Qi Luck sensation. He only spent a few days. But the results were shocking. When creating the framework of the immortal killer move, Fong Yuan did not think much, he only had a vague concept in his mind. Next, when he chose Gu worms, as long as they were Luck Path or Wisdom Path mortal Gu, he had a strong instinct about the selection. Instinct? This was hard to imagine. It really was, but once the attainment level was sufficient, one's understanding towards Gu worms and the concepts of immortal killer moves of the specific paths would turn into an instinct of the Gu immortal. This instinct was like a natural skill, as if one had it since birth. It was simple and effortless. Like how someone could breathe through their nose, it was a natural thing. Attainment level is one's understanding of the Great Tao. My Luck Path attainment is master level. This allows me to have acute sensations towards all contents of Luck Path. It is hard to describe with words. When elevating Qi Luck sensation, I did not need to test anything. I already knew what Gu worms would be suitable as the supplementary Gu. Similarly, for Wisdom Path, I have Wisdom Path Grandmaster attainment level. My understanding of Wisdom Path surpasses Luck Path, thus, I could perfectly fuse Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu into Qi Luck sensation successfully. Fong Yuan concluded and realized that the benefit of attainment level surpassed his former expectations. Being able to annex more immortal apertures was just a physical benefit. It had great effects on other aspects as well. If I raise all of my attainment levels to Grandmaster or even Great Grandmaster in the future, will I be able to create a terrifying killer move that uses all of the paths? Fong Yuan's thoughts started to wander. In fact, Spectral Soul had already reached this level. Perhaps this was why he could create Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu. Conceptualizing immortal killer moves was the same in essence as creating immortal Gu recipes. Thinking of Spectral Soul, Fong Yuan subconsciously looked towards a certain direction in Southern Border. Not long ago, he had confirmed with Qi Luck sensation that Xianxia and gang were over in that direction in Southern Border. Fong Yuan had already known the rough range of their whereabouts. Even though Fong Yuan had deep killing intent towards Xianxia and the others, he thought about it and decided to make some preparations before starting his assault. Even though Fong Yuan hatched the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle, it only had rank 6 battle strength. Xianxia and the rest had wrong information, thinking that Fong Yuan had rank 8 battle strength, but he could not possibly use this non-existent power to kill them, right? In the previous battle in Eastern Sea, Fong Yuan saw the strength of Xianxia and the others. This time, after a long while, Fong Yuan could not estimate whether Xianxia and the rest had inherited Shadow Sex resources and gained a huge boost in strength. To play it safe, Fong Yuan made a lot of preparations, just in case. He wanted to use this chance to get rid of this huge threat. Qi Luck Sensation was a great example. Fang Yuan had also already started to fuse Myriad Self and Sword Dragon transformation. Other than that, he even borrowed Immortal Gu from Wu Clan. This was the benefit of joining Wu Clan. It was different from Langya sect, that was a sect and required sect contribution points. But Wu Clan was a clan. Fang Yuan's identity was Wu Yihai, the younger brother of Wu Yong. He had the closest bloodline relationship in the entire clan. Thus, when Fang Yuan asked to borrow some Immortal Gu from Wu Clan's treasury, Wu Yong did not stop him, he agreed. In fact, Wu Yong was quite satisfied with Fang Yuan's recent performance. After Fang Yuan went to the Super Gu formation, he held his side of the agreement and did not interfere in Wu Clan's politics. This allowed Wu Yong to easily gain control of Wu Clan. Secondly, Fang Yuan, who acted as Wu Yihai, perfectly handled the immortal opportunity business. He displayed great political abilities and prevented Ba Clan from interfering. He helped Wu Clan control the situation and defend their territory inside the giant dream realm. This was a contribution to Wu Clan. Wu Yong remembered Fang Yuan's contribution, thus he not only agreed to lend some Immortal Gu from the treasury, he even lowered the cost of doing so. Fang Yuan paid a lot of Eastern Sea resources to borrow multiple Immortal Gu. Among them were Strength Path Dragon Strength Immortal Gu and Transformation Path Dragon Scales Immortal Gu. They were all available. These Immortal Gu were added to fuse Myriad Self and Sword Dragon transformation, providing great help to Fang Yuan. Baixiang Grotto Heaven. Inside the Super Gu formation, He Lu Lan, Shi Nu, Tai Bai Yunsheng, and Ning Wu Xia were at 4 spots, defending against Bai Ning Bing. Howl howl howl. The Super Gu formation was activated, intense winds blew, ice blades shot out, encircling the 4 Gu immortals. With Ning Wu Xia leading and the 3 immortals helping, they resisted the Super Gu formation's pressure. Even though they were in a difficult state, the formation was still quite stable. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of Tai Bai Yunsheng. It was Bai Ning Bing, but only her upper body was present, her lower half was like smoke. Bai Ning Bing appeared and charged towards Tai Bai Yunsheng. Tai Bai Yunsheng was the weakest among the 4 immortals. Bai Ning Bing chose to attack him. It was the right choice. Tai Bai Yunsheng quickly retreated. In the battle earlier, he had already seen how powerful Bai Ning Bing's attacks were. He suffered a lot due to it. If not for the other immortals' help, he would have died already. Change. Shi Nu, go. Seeing Tai Bai Yunsheng's predicament, Ning Wu Xia quickly commanded. A white light appeared on all 4 of them, before a deep eerie sigh was heard in the sky. Shi Nu and Tai Bai Yunsheng had changed locations, swapping as Shi Nu faced Bai Ning Bing's attack. Shi Nu grunted, defending against it. Tai Bai Yunsheng was behind Shi Nu. Seeing this, he quickly used his Cloud Path Immortal Gu to heal him. Bai Ning Bing is getting stronger. She is familiarizing herself with Baixiang's methods. She is in control of many ice and snow path Immortal Gu that Baixiang had. The longer this drags on, the worse it will be for us. Damn it! Baixiang Heavenly Spirit actually had the humans-alike Dragon's Gu refinement method. Wasn't this method completely eliminated by Duke Long? How could he have missed this? Also, during the battle earlier, I sensed something in my luck. Fang Yuan actually raised his detection method to this extent. Even if I hide inside an immortal aperture now, he would still discover me. Ning Wu Xia was facing huge pressure. Bai Ning Bing betrayed them and was getting stronger every minute. Ning Wu Xia and the rest were desperately trying to defend against her. They could not leave. On the other hand, Fang Yuan knew where they were. But Ning Wu Xia had the information that Fang Yuan possessed rank 8 battle strength. If he got here, Baixiang Grotto Heaven could not block the immemorial Desolate Beast Upper Extreme Heavenly Eagle. This meant that Fang Yuan could appear at any moment. Ning Wu Xia would not even be surprised if Fang Yuan showed up suddenly at the next moment. Bai Ning Bing, stop it. Fighting would harm us both, only working together will bring benefits. Since you are now a Dragon Man, you are qualified to inherit the Immortal Gu House Dragon Palace. In the past, the Dragon Men were extremely powerful with a large number of Gu immortals. They managed to create Dragon Palace. After the Dragon Men went extinct, Immortal Gu House Dragon Palace has been secretly hidden in a certain area of Eastern Sea. My shadow sect knows roughly where it is, but only someone who has used the humans alike Dragon's Gu refinement method to become a Dragonman Gu immortal can inherit it. If you work with us, Dragon Palace will be yours. Xianxia shouted. Bai Ningbing had no reaction, the Super Gu formation was continuing to attack unceasingly. Xianxia was stifled, he called out, Bai Ningbing, it will be too late if you don't stop. A great enemy whom we both know of is coming, he has a rank 8 level upper extreme heavenly eagle, and has already used luck path methods to find out our location. I am not lying to you, our luck vibrated earlier, you must have sensed it too, right? Bai Ningbing snorted, transmitting, I would like him to come here. I want to cooperate with him, even if I have to give up this Bai Xiang Grotto heaven, so be it. Xianxia was anxious, he yelled, aren't we clear what kind of person he is? You are playing with fire, you will get burned to a crisp in the end. Wait, why do you want to cooperate with him? Bai Ningbing sneered, this is our business, it has nothing to do with you. The four of you should just die here. Xianxia had a flash of inspiration, I know, you want that rotation Gu in his hands. That's right, you used the humans alike Dragon's Gu refinement method but turned into a dragon lady. You want to become a man, you need to solve the origin of the issue. I have the Gu worm that you need. It is with me. What? Bai Ningbing was surprised. For the first time since the Super Gu formation attacking Xianxia had activated, it showed signs of slowing down. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible.